Welcome everyone to the 10th episode of Balls Deep Cinema. We went on a little hiatus recently, and and then two episodes in 1 week that we record after almost 3 weeks out. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good, man. Chilling. We're here. We're David Fincher came and brought us together.
He did.
So
Leave
it
it to
was.
him. Yeah.
I just got my voice back today. The past 2 days, I didn't have a voice, but that it was actually a low key blessing in disguise because I
Mhm.
was able to watch the movie. Because
There we go. Yeah. So we were originally going to record it just like on Tuesday or of some sorts, I think it was.
Mm.
And Jay just sends us a voice message. He's like, "Hey guys, I don't think I can record." We're like, "That's all right." But yes, as Steve mentioned, David Fincher, we all watched his latest film, The Killer, which is now currently on Netflix. Just came out a few days ago. Guys, I think we spoke a little bit about it. It's one of those. For me at least, the way I saw it, right, it was a very slow, but at the same time, simple movie to almost watch, and I can almost see this movie from the screenwriter's perspective with how almost simple it was, but with a simple script. You almost have to be very delicate about it. And after this movie checked off so many things, I just want to kick in and know what your guys' thoughts were on it.
Yeah. I personally, I love the movie.
Mhm.
I didn't really have much of a knowledge on what it would be about going into it. Knew it was a Netflix film. Obviously David Fincher and Netflix have had a very close relationship throughout the years. We're talking House of Cards, we're talking Mank, we're talking various other projects that he's done and
Mhm.
exclusively done on Netflix. Um, So I just really went in with an open mind.
Mhm.
Love Michael Fassbender. I'm very solid cast. Doesn't jump out with huge names. Obviously Fassbender, Tilda Swinton. Um, but for a David Fincher film, we usually get like a huge ensemble cast. But I think it really just plays to this type of movie.
Mhm.
This movie is all about the main character,
Mhm.
and I loved how this movie really showed the perspective of everything that's going on in this movie will be through the eyes of the killer or the unnamed assassin, Michael Fassbender's character. We're not only going to see his viewpoint, we're not only going to see how he reacts to events that occur, his personal life. We're going to see his really like view on the world. How he expounds on, how his methodology as an assassin, how he goes about, making sure he's at the right heart rate when he's about to shoot someone with his rifle,
Mhm.
right? David Fincher really took the time, and the screenwriters really took the time to make this a narrative experience through the eyes of one man.
Mhm.
And it's very tight, it's very cohesive. We
Mhm.
rarely at all get a shot of I don't think we ever got a shot of, actually one scene where we got a shot of the woman who worked at the law firm, who was in the car, who was tied up and she was trying to get out. That
Mhm.
was literally, I believe, the only scene in the movie where Michael Fassbender's character was not in it, and we didn't see it from his point of view. Um, and that just shows you how tight and cohesive this movie was. They were very focused on showing you Fassbender's point of view.
Mhm.
I mentioned this to you guys. I felt like it had a lot of the Catcher of the Rye narrative going with it. Catcher in the Rye, for those who don't know, I don't remember the author, but uh, nonetheless, I remember the
Yeah.
very famous
Yeah.
author, but the book was basically about the character Holden and his narration about what's going on in his life, how he's reacting to certain events, and essentially, though, the whole point of that book was, hey, Holden's not really a reliable narrator. He's telling you things
Mhm.
that's happening. He's telling you, who he's speaking to and what he's doing in these situations, what his thoughts are, what his feelings are towards things. But in a lot of cases, it's up to interpretation on whether it's uh, rooted in reality, what's going on, or is it really just whatever's in Holden's imagination and whatever how Holden wants to view the world through his eyes. And I feel like we get a lot of that in The Killer. We see him with a very tight mindset. We see him with a very tight, view of, what his world is and how he goes about execution and how he goes about, how he executes people, how he
Mhm.
has a very cold mindset and he's very calculated. And we see that somewhat unraveling throughout the movie, right? As we get closer to the end, we notice, and spoiler alert, guys, if you haven't seen the movie, please pause right now and see the movie so you don't get spoiled. You are listening to a reaction podcast of the movie, so just keep that in mind. But we see at the end that he does not take the life of the client, despite the fact he took the life of many other ancillary pieces that had much less to do with what happened to him and his girlfriend. And I really just think that his progression throughout the movie was really just a showcasing of him having a firm standpoint and methodology and kind of process. But as these events occur, it starts to break him down in a sense to where now we start to see we start to see a degradation of who he is, and we start to see how he views life and how he views events around him, how he views people, how he goes about what he's going to do to people. I think we get a good example of this when he's sitting in front of Tilda Swinton's character in the diner scene, where he wants to say something. He wants to break out of this character that he's in because of the fact that he's sitting right next to in front of an assassin who's living a lavish life while he has to live a life in the Dominican Republic. But he sticks to that character. But by the end of the movie, I think we get a very unlocked and broken down version of who he is and how these events have affected him. I know I went on a rant, but Jay, I got to hear your thoughts. I love this movie. I thought it was fantastic, and I thought it was a great entry in the David Fincher filmography.
Yeah, I went into it also blind. I didn't watch a single trailer. The
Same,
only, yeah, I had heard,
Yep.
I think, bits and pieces of it, but I mostly heard about it from YouTube, funny enough. So when you said let's review it, I was like, okay, I'm always down to give a new movie a watch. So I went into it not really knowing what to expect, other than Michael Fassbender is the poster. So I think the first 15 minutes are a great example of like old school storytelling. And what I mean by that is, if you've noticed, and I think Marvel's a big example of this, we're jumping into action scenes almost immediately in movies now. And I think some of that is TikTok has fried our brains, Instagram has fried our brains, right? Like we don't have the attention span. I saw a tweet and I forgot the user's name, but Captain America, the first Avenger, the very first action scene of that movie comes with 47 minutes left in the movie. And we don't see a lot of movies that do that nowadays because our attention spans are we need action now. I feel like a lot of action movies, like The Killer, for instance, are in some of these iconic directors. Fincher, he's iconic. Fall into this trap of we need action, like off the rip, right? And this movie doesn't fall into that. And that's one thing I absolutely love about that is that the first 15 minutes, you really have to pay attention. You're like, what is this guy's target? What is he going after? I love how the movie opens up. Again, spoiler, because if you're still listening at this point, you've watched it, I'm assuming. With him with a scope, just looking at like 7 different people, and you're like, who's the person he's supposed to kill here? And it's really setting the stage, right? This guy said Ted Williams hit 336 in his career and he got him in the Hall of Fame, right? And he's like, I'm batting 1,000, if not for one of the guys who had a heart attack or something like that. And you're like, okay, this guy, he's on his game, right? Like he doesn't miss. All his targets get neutralized. Like this guy's the best at what he does. And the buildup, right, of like 25 minutes. I think I looked at when he finally fires the gun, I remember pausing it to look at the runtime. And it was about 25 minutes into the movie. So we have 25 minutes of just dialogue. And a lot of people can't handle that nowadays. I loved it because it felt very, early 2000s to me. It was like Steve said, we're getting an unreliable narrator. The opening really felt like American Psycho to me as well. Just we're learning a lot about this character and what makes him tick, what makes him this sort of psychotic, crazed killer. In Michael Fassbender's case, because I have to call him that. We don't even know his name. That's one thing I never learned his name. He uses a different alias every single time, adding to that unreliability. So I really love the pacing in a weird way. It doesn't start off in a lot of action, but then the movie really picks up. You get to the scene in Florida, which we'll talk about because, in my opinion, one of the best action scenes I've ever seen was that scene. Yeah, that fight scene in Florida. And then he's just slowly, ticking people off
Yeah.
the boxes. So, excuse me. So I really think just overall, I love the pacing of this movie. We'll get to our ratings at the end, but I already recommended it to someone in a
Yeah.
group chat that I share with Steve. So and he liked it. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the direction this movie took. It just felt very one-off. Great action and an overall stacked cast. Shout out to Tilda Swinton. She stole the 15 minutes she said this
Yep.
movie. Absolutely
Agreed.
killed it. So yeah, I love the work that it did.
And you both brought up really good points about attention spans in the movies. I spoke to a coworker today, right? And I asked him, I was like, "Hey, have you watched The Killer on Netflix?" And he brought up that I couldn't get into it. Are we? I don't know if it's just our current generation, because I know Jay, you mentioned that maybe just some people can't handle that. It's fascinating that you really, this is one of those movies where number one, you cannot be on your phone, right? If you're in the movie theaters, I think everyone pays attention. But if you're slightly on the phone and there's Michael Fassbender's opening monologue, you're gonna miss one thing, right? So just interesting, like for you guys, I just want to hear your point of view. Like, how fascinating is it that we live in this current world where we need to jump into things, but with this movie, it took its time. You had to really pay attention to learn what this is about. I just want to know what your guys' thoughts on. Is that just is that just the current generation of just the human beings that we are?
That's so funny because this
Yeah,
movie was almost like listening to a podcast.
yeah,
If you really think about
Yeah.
it, the first
Uh-huh.
25 minutes of the movie, like the fact that look, all that narration was through the head of Fassbender. We really didn't see him
yeah,
talk very much at
yeah.
all, except
Correct,
for
correct.
maybe a one-off phone call.
Yeah.
And so with
Mhm.
that, you really could be on your phone
Yep.
and still pick up what's going on the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie because it's just
Hmm.
Michael Fassbender really just talking just random shit. He's
Yeah,
talking about,
yeah.
like you said, his worldview. He's like, well, in baseball, like you said, Jay, in baseball, Ted Williams hitting 334. I'm gonna relate it to what I do in my profession. I'd be batting 1,000. Like this is the stuff that's going through this guy's mind, his head, and it's
Yep.
very. It shows you, I guess, how twisted he is as a person, but also, it's just Fincher trying to give you that perspective of this guy, he's kind of a weird guy. Uh, and then when you are in a situation where, hopefully you're not, but in this
Hmm.
situation with this hitman, who is staking out for, 20 plus hours until his
Hmm.
target comes out.
Hmm.
I guess this is how he passes time. This is what goes through his head. This is what he does. He'll do his workouts there. He'll go check out real
Hmm.
quick and go get McDonald's. But to your point,
Yeah.
Brandon, yeah, I mean, our generation, I definitely think, struggles with movies nowadays. If it doesn't catch you like that, and if they don't
Yeah.
invest into it.
Right.
But with this movie, I felt like, look, honestly, it was almost like listening to a podcast, and Fassbender's voice, quite therapeutic, if I may say. At least for the first, 30 minutes. Obviously, you'll have to pay attention, with the big
Right.
fight
Right.
scene and the ending. So,
Yeah, and I would say, it's one of those things that like if you don't make it those first 25 minutes, I almost feel sorry for you because the movie just
Yeah.
picks up right after
Oh,
that, right?
absolutely. Yep.
As soon as he fires the shot, he's running down the stairs, he's
Yep.
on the scooter.
Yep.
It's you know what one thing I love that Fincher does with the cuts and everything is that he makes it feel like there's a chase happening, even though there's not.
Yep. Hmm.
He's not a suspect in the shooting, but because he missed his target, he feels like he is. And that's what I really love about this movie. It kind of goes into the mind of a killer, right?
Hmm.
I would argue what maybe 97% of the population can't relate with being a cold-blooded killer, right?
Yeah.
Maybe more, maybe less. That's just spitballing off the top of my head, but
hopefully
Right.
um,
less.
yeah, hopefully far, far less. But you know, the mind of a hitman, right? You kind of have to be ruthless. You see that through this movie. He never hesitates.
Hmm.
One thing I really love about this movie, I feel like this is as realistic of what a hitman is, right? It's not someone who has morality. It's not someone who really has a soul. It's someone very stoic. It's someone who just, again, doesn't hesitate. There were about 5 times in this movie that I'm like, oh, he's going to spare that person. Like, there's no way he's going to kill that person,
Hmm.
right? And boom, just does it. And there's no dialogue or anything. He just does it. And that's what I
Yep.
really love about this movie is it really splices the mind. And you see that in that opening dialogue. But that's something that, again, some of this newer generation might look at and say, that's kind of boring. I can't see myself getting into this. But that exposition is so important for how this movie is going to be set up,
Yep.
because you really have to go into his mind as why he doesn't spare those people. What's his saying that he says like literally every time? Steve, I feel like you memorized it because you put it in our group chat. But he says it every single time. Like you
Yep.
have to improvise. You have to be ready, right?
Never show
plan.
empathy. Yeah.
You're right.
Never show empathy. Stick to the plan.
Yeah.
Stick to the plan, right? Like those are things that are going through his mind. And if you don't really get those first 25 minutes of exposition, you're like, why is he doing that, right?
Yeah.
So, or never trust anyone, right? I love that he keeps saying it, never trust anybody. And you're like, you could have trusted that secretary. And then it's starting to feel like you could trust Tilda Swinton. And then what happens? She fakes the slip and fall. She has a knife in her hand. I love that buildup. And that's stuff that you don't get if all you want is kicking and punching.
Yep. No, and it's something that's fascinating to me. You brought up a really good point of, and you said it really well. If you didn't go past those 25 minutes, you're lost. And like you mentioned, the moment he misses with that shot, right? Because I think all three of us were expecting him to be perfect, shoot the guy who's with the prostitute or whatever, she was in that hotel room. He missed, and we're like, oh crap, we're witnessing this for the first time as maybe he is. And then I think he literally says like, oh shit, or fuck, like I missed.
Yeah.
And then the moment he starts running down, the movie just immediately changes. Let's go into the Florida fight scene. I felt like this guy was about a John Wick style, or man, just I don't know. I'm trying to think of other movies, Mission Impossible style. Man, just trying to just run in, and this is the situation he's in. He's gonna fight everyone. So I was shocked when I saw only one person that he was fighting, but oh my god, just edge on my seat. Fantastic choreography. These two guys are just going at it. Just your thoughts on the fight, because I know we've been wanting to talk about this.
Yeah, I said it was. I thought it was the best fight scene I've seen in a movie in the last 10 years. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I think it's great to see Fincher like dabble into like a very very much John Wick, Jason Bourne-esque fight scene.
Yep, correct.
Because Fincher's a great director, and that's something we often don't see in his movies. Is just an intense, and prolonged fight scene. I would say, right?
It was pretty long,
yeah. We're talking about like 10, 15 minutes, and then you had the sequence with the dog as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Very, very. My heart was pounding during that scene. That was definitely exhilarating. I will say it was funny to see Fassbender literally get uppercut, like thrown to the ground by this 300-pound man. And he still is like getting up and fighting. Maybe that's hitman strength and stamina. You clearly need it, right? But hey, he hung in there. That was definitely a brutal fight too. The brute in that fight scene, he was a big guy, and it definitely takes some ingenuity to get out of that. Yeah.
So I do have a fun fact for you guys. The brute is portrayed by Sala Baker, and he is, I guess, a well-known New Zealand stuntman. His biggest role, though, to date, he played Sauron in the Lord of the Rings franchise.
Okay,
so
get out of here.
That is my fun fact for he's 6'2", so he's huge, almost 300 pounds. So yeah, he's a big dude. But
in the original trilogy.
Yep, he played. They needed someone 6'2" to fit the suit, I guess. So
yeah, he's pretty old. He's got to be like freaking about 40 or 50 by now. I think he said
48 or 47, 48.
Dang. And that's crazy because like Michael Fassbender is a pretty tall guy too. So just to see a guy like just up his height, if not a little bit taller, I was like, whoa.
I'm curious on your guys' thoughts on this. It felt like this is the first and maybe only time in the movie that he's gonna lose, right? Like he goes in there and he's searching, and he's made pretty quick work of his first target, right?
Yeah.
Like he made quick work of the taxi driver, and then he made quick work of the person before the brute, right? So the lawyer. So now he's fighting the brute, and I honestly am watching this fight like I don't see how he wins this. He's clearly outmatched. and then he eventually outsmarts the guy, and I guess maybe that's why his
Yeah.
name is the Brute, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I'm curious on your guys' thoughts on how that sort of felt. Like, I know there's so much movie after this, so obviously he has to win. But I thought Fincher did a really good job of really making me feel like, oh man, he doesn't stand a chance here.
I think for us, it was just the perspective of seeing him win maybe two fights pretty easy, or like you
Mhm.
manipulating the taxi driver into the Dominican Republic. That was pretty quick. I want to say there might have been one other kill before that. That was pretty quick. So I think we were sort of in a way expecting that. And just seeing him being outmatched, it was pretty intense. That's really all I have to say to it. And then eventually, the next couple scenes are a lot more strategic rather than like more of the just offensive side of it.
Well, and honestly, sometimes you wonder, is this guy a good hitman? Right? Because with the lawyer, he obviously nailed gun him, and he in his head said, I got 6 to 7 minutes to interrogate him to figure out where I got to go next, and he immediately dies in a minute. He's like, shit, uh,
Yeah.
obviously with the first kill in the movie where he kills the dominatrix, we saw him with so much thought behind how he's going to kill this person, had his heart rate ready and all that stuff. You thought there's no way he doesn't kill him, like you mentioned, Brandon.
Yep.
And he ends up shooting the wrong person, right? Honestly, to me it shows that while he is a badass, he's very much.
Hmm.
It's not like he's at the top tier of his game. It's not like he's, the Michael Jordan of hitman. He's probably, your run the mill hitman who, you know, we see his skills, we see his ferocity. We also see the fact that he's not perfect, and he definitely overestimates himself, and probably thinks he's smarter than he actually is. Like with the
He
things I
probably
mentioned.
overthinks it a lot. I mean, when you're
Yeah.
watching that first scene, you're like, dude, you could have fired the trigger like four separate times when this guy was on the other
Hmm.
window
Mm-hmm.
and no
Yep.
one was in his way. I mean, if you're trying to torture, I'm no expert in torturing by any stretch of the imagination, but when he's trying to torture the lawyer, like he goes straight for the heart. He nails him like he says three
Hmm.
9-inch steel nails to the chest.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wasn't there an easier way to do that? I don't know. He was already tied up. He probably could have got
Especially
your
when you're
info.
trying to get
Yeah.
extract information from him.
Right, right.
And yeah, I mean, just to speak on that, he's definitely a guy with paranoia. He's definitely a guy with that overthinks. We saw him in that plane scene where which really didn't get paid off, I don't think. The scene with the man in the suit with the where they
Yeah.
focused on his blue
Yeah.
socks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, right.
He was paranoid about that, and that ended up him, waiting and taking a later flight, which obviously would led to for I guess for his sake, because he probably saved his wife. Um,
Hmm.
it saved him from going out that day and getting back home, and then potentially being killed by the brute and
Correct.
Tilda
Correct.
Swinton's
Yeah.
character. I wasn't sure if that was why that guy was there with the blue socks, just so he could delay his flight. Really wasn't either that
Hmm.
guy was actually a killer, so to speak, or someone who was reconning him,
Mhm.
or that just shows his paranoia. It shows how he overthinks.
Yeah.
So I wonder,
That's true.
guys. I just want to shoot this out here.
Yeah. No, go for it.
What did you guys think of the ending? Um, obviously David Fincher. He's got a lot of great movies out. Some people really didn't like the beginning of this movie, and then really didn't like the ending. So what do you guys think? Jay, what do you
It.
think? Or yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead,
Yeah.
Brandon.
I don't know about you guys, but it made me feel it gave me a lot of Casino Royale vibes with like, relaxing at the end with like the woman. Well, eventually, the love interest he has eventually betrays him and she dies, but which was a
Mhm.
mind-blowing ending alone to that first James Bond film with Daniel Craig. But like I don't know, I kind of got some of those vibes. I don't know if it had to do with him being in the Caribbean and then finishing the movie relaxing, but but no, I enjoyed it a lot. I think it was a good wrapped up ending that he was able to kill all of his employers. Maybe possibly not even worrying at all about anything in the future, right? At least for the foreseeable future. And then he was able to be with his girlfriend, wife, fiance, whatever she was. Just him being able to have that peace of mind, right? Because throughout the entire movie, we see this guy overthink. He's worrying. We're seeing everything from his perspective. Those final few minutes or seconds, he's literally just, you know, relaxing. And I think that's a good way, a good peace of mind, and a good way to end that film. And that's the way I saw it. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything I got out of it. I was very satisfied.
Yeah, when you think of like the David Fincher style of ending, you always
Mm.
expect a sort of little mind blowing little plot twist. You obviously, um, you know, I think of some of his more iconic movies, right? Like Gone Girl is a great example. I think,
Going Girl's fantastic. Yeah.
excuse me, where the ending is sort of like these two narcissistic people who still end up together, right? Obviously, Fight Club. Obviously, there's a lot of Zodiac type movies. What I think of this movie is I feel like we get straight to the point, which is like
Yeah.
also the Fincher style ending. We get straight
Yeah.
to the point. He gets closure because he knows no one is coming after him after that, right? I kind of
Hmm.
like the idea of sparing the buyer.
Yeah.
Um, the buyer seemed genuine, and he seemed like he didn't really know that he by asking for retribution. He also was asking for retribution against Fassbender. I kind of like that Fassbender really put the fear of God into him and said, you'll be tasting bleach in your coffee and dying a slow, painful death. I thought that was, but I have no issues with the ending. Excuse me. I'm not really sure that there is a better way to end this movie than just getting straightforward and to the point. And then if you guys have anything that you think you would end it differently, but I personally like it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, it was very similar. I had the same feeling when I watched Zodiac at the end. Obviously, with
Yeah.
at the end of Zodiac, he names the killer, but uh, we weren't sure if he was correct though. Like there was
Mhm.
still kind of like that
Yeah.
ambiguous,
Mhm.
like, who knows what really happened, and we're just gonna end it on this note.
Mhm.
And that was based off a true story. But with this, it's closure, but it's also, I think it's an ending that really, you just got to end it at some point, right? And he went on this globe-trotting adventure, and he was able to, put the fear of God into the client.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I really felt like that part, like I mentioned before, was him taking it back, and the reason why he didn't kill him was him taking it back and almost like enjoying it in a way that he can intimidate someone so powerful. Clearly, I mean, this man had the power to
Mhm.
order a hit on a political figure, right?
Mhm.
And so I think he just kind of reveled in that, which kind of showed his kind of sociopathic nature. Which, you're a hitman, you're definitely a sociopath.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm curious, where do you guys rank this in the Fincher filmography? Like, where would
Ooh.
you, like, if I threw out some movies? How about this? I'll throw out some movies of Fincher. Not all of
Ooh, I
them.
like
I'll
this.
throw
I
in a
like
few,
this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you just tell me. You guys, you can say at the same time which one you'd rather have. So let's take a look. I'll just go on top of my head right now. I'm pulling up his movies.
Feels like a Mario Party minigame where it's like we both have to look the same way.
And I'm sure we've all seen a lot of Fincher filmography.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Alien 3. What do you think? Killer Alien 3.
I say
Ooh,
I say killer.
Yeah, I gotta go Killer.
killer,
Alien 3 is
killer.
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, but
But it's
the
definitely
problem.
not the it's
Yeah.
definitely the second worst Alien.
I was gonna say with the thing with Alien 3 is the
Yeah.
first two were so good that it's really
Yeah.
hard to replicate that.
It is. Yeah.
I did mention to you, it is crazy for that franchise.
Mhm.
Trifecta of directors with Cameron, Ridley Scott, and Fincher.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
how does a franchise, that's impressive. Seven, Killer. I'll go seven.
7 by far.
Yeah. I'll say
That's, in my
7. Yeah.
opinion, one of the greatest plot twists in cinema history.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fight Club.
Come on.
I go Fight Club.
Yeah, come on. That's not even close. That's not even close.
Yeah. No.
Panic Room. I think I'll take the Killer over Panic Room.
Killer.
I'll do killer too. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you guys seen
Yeah.
Panic Room?
I've seen it once years ago.
Yeah.
I
It's
briefly
yeah.
remember it.
Same. It's been a while.
It.
So
It has
We
been a
might
while.
need to do a Fincher rewatch.
honestly, why not?
Fincher movie draft. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Just 12 a.m.
Here.
to 6 a.m. rewatch. Just
Zodiac. I'll take Zodiac.
ooh, Zodiac. I feel like I love
Zodiac
Zodiac too
also.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
it's an
could I
iconic.
could I could think about I could maybe see why I'd go Killer there, but just for now, I'll have to watch. I've seen Zodiac so many times. I'd rather
Yeah.
let I got to see Killer a
Yeah.
few more times before I take it over Zodiac.
I feel like for
Benjamin,
me, Zodiac, it just might be the former journalist in me. I mean, I've always loved Jake Gyllenhaal too, Mark Ruffalo. So I feel like I don't know. There's a lot over it, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I mean, fantastic regardless. I mean, the killer is so.
Fourth Estate movies. You guys a big fan of YouTube formal journalist?
Honestly, in a way, yeah. So
What was that one movie about journalism with Russell Crowe and Ben Affleck? Was it about journalism, State of Play? You guys remember that?
oh man, no, no,
I don't.
no. Well, now
You gotta look it
I
up.
gotta see it.
Benjamin Button or the killer?
Killer.
Ugh.
I think
I'd
I'll
say the
take the
killer.
killer. I'll
Yeah.
take the killer.
Wait, really? I kind of like Benjamin Button.
I like Benjamin Button too. I just rather I like the killer better.
I might go Benjamin Button. I think it's
Wow.
our first
All right.
disagreement.
All right.
So-
Yeah.
Social network. Social network.
Such
I won't,
social
Yeah.
network.
I'd say
Yeah.
social network.
It's a
I
great
won't even
movie.
entertain it. I will take it over Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd
Same.
say that.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't really a big fan of that movie.
I wasn't either.
I wasn't either. Yeah.
We'll end it with this one, Gone Girl. I
Hey,
think I'll take
Gone
the
Girl.
killer.
I think I'd take the Gone Girl. Not gonna lie.
Ooh, this is closer than it should be.
I
I'm gonna
love
go
Gone
Gone
Girl
Girl.
too. I love
Gone
Oh,
Girl's
man.
iconic, man. It is such a
Hey,
good movie.
listen, Ben Affleck wears a Mets hat, so that's it. That takes it. Just that scene alone in the airport.
Yeah.
Honestly, what we should do
Yeah.
is we should do like we should just name off some actors we think could have played the killer because I was
Ooh.
definitely thinking
Ooh.
I imagined in my head what if Fincher and Ben Affleck teamed up for the killer? How different a movie that would be. But
And
we can
see,
talk
and
about
that
that after the break.
see that's interesting. Yeah, no, we could definitely do that after break. With we got a little bit to wrap up before that second part of this. By second part, it'll probably be a little bit, but I don't know. Ben Affleck's already a huge dude, so I just imagine his fight against the Brute. I feel like he'd probably be bigger than the Brute.
That would be more
Uh,
visceral fight, I would say. That would be like, damn, like these two are
uh,
like MMA fighting.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh man, what's uh, not Bill Skarsgård, obviously. Alexander
Ale-
Skarsgård,
yeah,
maybe.
Alexander
That would
Skarsgård.
be a
He's
good
got. I mean,
casting.
if you,
That would have
yeah,
been good.
he's
Yeah.
got a little bit of the creepy vibe to him. I don't know if you guys watched Big Little Lies. I believe that was on HBO back in 2017, I think it was. But like,
Succession.
he was in it, and he plays the creepy, like, just husband, and it's like, man, that's I just kind of get that same vibe,
He's in
right there with
Succession
him.
too.
Yeah, Succession. That's right. Yeah, yeah, he is. Yeah, the final season.
Yeah,
Wish
Succession, Tarzan.
Tarzan. Tarzan. Yeah. All right,
He
guys, we're
was-
gonna go ahead. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he was also in
Yeah.
that one movie with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. I can't remember the name though. Jay, you know what I'm talking about? With Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron. Let me look this up.
That sounds like Fast and Furious.
No, Seth Rogen.
Hey, who
All right,
knows?
let's just
I feel
figure it
like
out after the break.
The Fast and Furious world has shocked us at so many points this season. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get a break. When we come back, we're gonna go ahead and maybe name a couple more actors who we could possibly see that could have been in Michael Fassbender's shoes, and then we're gonna go ahead and give our ratings and then call it a night. All right, be right back, guys. All right, welcome back. This isn't going to be very too long, but we're just going to play a little game like Steve had in mind. Which actors will we have seen in Michael Fassbender's shoes? After that, we'll give our little mini final score. And then I want to bring up a little question as well afterward, but I'll leave that in a little bit. But Steve, please, may you proceed.
Yeah, honestly, when I was watching this movie, I couldn't help but think this killer is just basically Jay Shatara in human form.
Oh man, I wish I was that cunning. Let me
No.
tell you.
No, honestly, like it's such an interesting role. Like it's a great
Yeah.
role, and it's nice to see Fassbender in the role. I was wondering, like, just thinking if we had to name an actor. So if I name some actors, and I'm going to dip into the MCU pool because I think it'd be fun to see how they would portray a character like this. I'll name the first one. I'll name Chris Evans. Can he do it? I'm gonna say no.
I think he's done too many rom-com like comedy style movies that it's just really he's typecast in terms of those movies, right? Like the comedy ones, just really sweetheart movies. Could he do it
Knives Out.
potentially? But yeah, that's true. Knives Out. Yeah, you're right. Hey, not another teen movie. So, all right, what next do you have for us?
Jay, your audio's off. Yeah, we
Ah,
can't hear you.
we're
Jay will
if
be
you don't
right back.
know, yeah, if you don't know, audience, we were poking fun at me just because my audio wasn't working, and now that's rotated back to Jay. So, moment of truth for Jay.
Hello.
There
There
he
we go.
is.
There we go. He's back.
Oh, there
This
we
will be
go.
it.
I
This
don't
will
know
be
what
edited
happened
back.
there. I apologize for those technical difficulties.
Yeah.
All right. What were you saying about Chris Evans, Jay?
No, I was just saying Knives Out is one of those more like I think
Yep.
niche
Mhm.
roles for him. But
Mhm.
I just this takes like I think I'm gonna go back to American Psycho because I think he set the standard for like the serial killer sort of hitman role, and like you have to go inside their mind and the method acting. So I'm actually gonna throw out a name to you guys, and I'm really curious because this is gonna be. I feel
Okay.
like you guys are gonna laugh. Jared Leto.
Oh my God.
I knew Steve was gonna love that one.
Jared Leto. Honestly, I think he could do it.
I think you can too.
Is he
Yeah.
menacing though? Like, he can't do menacing. Jared Leto?
I'm here for it. I kind of like it.
Listen, if it was post Dallas Buyers Club, like right after, immediately after that amazing performance, yes. But maybe after the events of Morbius, I don't know. It's really hard to see him that same way.
I would just see him. I like Jared Leto for the most part, but in this role, I think he would just be too robotic. Like, and Jared
Yeah.
Leto robotic is problemsome.
Well,
It's
here's
really
the thing.
bad.
Well, here's the thing too. What was it? Blade Runner 2049. I kind of liked him. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I
That
thought
was
he
a good role. I know I
played.
like that role.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that role.
Yeah.
You have one,
Yeah.
Brandon?
Yeah. Richard Madden.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I like it. Bodyguard.
Bodyguard. That's the first thought I went to, just Bodyguard.
I'm into it. I like
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I think he's still a little too well kept though. I think Fassbender's got a lot of like
Yeah.
this guy hasn't seen a
Yeah.
shower in like a week. Like he's been up for 5 days.
Listen, I think Richard
Madden's
Madden,
too
yeah.
elegant. Madden's too elegant.
He's James Bond. I would say he's James Bond in my opinion.
So one thing I do want to
Yeah.
bring up, I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
noticed this, is when I think of Fassbender, I'm going back to his role as Magneto in the X-Men, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you know, he's fit, he's in shape. I don't know if you
Mhm.
noticed this. In this movie, he looks older, he looks a little more scruffed, and he's actually
Yeah.
really not that, like in shape, even though you see him working out, like he's not overly swole. So like the reason I immediately said no to Chris Evans is because he just seems like he's too in shape for this role. Like
Yeah.
this guy is looking like the everyday guy.
Yeah.
And like now you bring up Richard Madden. I'm actually going to say no because I do think he's too well kept.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
I
Like
think
it. Yeah.
this person has to look kind of gritty. He has to look like you and me. Maybe not to the extent of like completely out of shape, right? But like
Madden would look like a suave hitman.
yeah, right. Like the
Yeah.
super attractive guy coming up to me and he wants to kill me. Like I don't know. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying that's like I feel like Fassbender set this sort of standard of what
Right.
this should be, and it should look like a just average Joe.
Like, yeah, no, that's a good point. Like I mentioned it very briefly. I think Madden would be a really good James Bond. And I don't know if that's just the British in him because he is from Scotland, but I don't know. Could be another one. All right, keeping
Now,
in the
let me
MCU
think.
terms, if you want to, I don't know. I was gonna throw out Tom Hiddleston.
That is a tough one.
I'm gonna say no.
Oh,
I'm gonna say
no.
no. Yeah,
Have you guys ever seen the Night Manager?
I have not no.
It's an action thriller with Tom Hiddleston. He was in it, and he played a spy. I believe a British spy in it.
Okay.
I got to rewatch that. I could see it, man. I could see it. I think I'm gonna say yes.
You think
We're
so?
too.
Okay.
That's the problem with overstaying your welcome into MCU because then nobody can
Yeah.
get fucking Loki out of their mind, and
I
it's
was
hard
gonna
to
say
you get
that's an
typecast.
issue in itself. You're kind of typecast by MCU standards. My first
Yeah.
thought when you said Chris Evans, even though he's done so many great roles, is always going to be Captain America.
Yeah, he's too
Yeah.
nice.
That's very. I mean, this guy loves Disney World more than I do. So I mean, so it's like it's too hard to take that serious. This guy says in the industry he loves Dumbo, the flying elephant. I don't know. I can't think of an assassin when he loves Dumbo. Maybe, but who knows? Who am I?
What about Mahershala?
I can see it.
Ooh,
I can see
yes.
it. I can see
Yes,
it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
he would do I think he would like 2 times the menacing part. Like he's way
Yes.
more intimidating than Fassbender in my
It's
opinion.
the narrator for me. The narrator. I
That,
can.
that I was
There
going
we
to
go.
say, it's going into his mind. I know he
Yep.
can just nail the emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got another one, Jay?
This is gonna sound okay. you gotta stick with me. Imagine he's 20 years younger, but I'm gonna say Gary Busey.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh my gosh,
Let me look him up. I gotta look him up.
Gary
Hold on.
Busey. He's now listen. He's
Wait.
known for his comedy roles. He's probably in his 60s or 70s now, but some of his like earlier roles are kind of psychotic, and I feel like it fits for this.
Well, 20 years younger. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture.
Yes.
This guy's 8 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So maybe 40 years younger in reality.
Yeah.
I wanted to go a little out of the box. I was like, we have some modern day actors, but you go a little younger, or some of these older guys who played these psychotic roles in the 80s
Yeah.
and 90s when
Yeah.
they were young and they were good at it.
Yeah.
All right, sticking with the MCU. What about Gael Garcia Bernal?
He's in the MCU?
Yeah, Werewolf by Night.
Oh.
Wow, you really pulled the deep cut there.
I'm like, shit, you could have named anything,
Endgame or
you could have named
Hey.
any other
Hey.
Gael IP, and you named
Yeah.
fucking Werewolf by Night.
Oh, that was
Well, no, I mean, I would say what Fable's really good. Y Tu Mamá También is really good. I think it was one of his first movies.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you really enjoyed that movie, didn't you?
Me?
Yeah.
For what?
I'm
For
not gonna
the-
lie. I think
There's a
I
lot
ended
going
up
on.
bringing it up
There's
with
a lot going
Thundercats.
on in that movie.
Hey, anything with Thundercats references to it, I'm all about it.
I could see it. I could see it. What about? I mean, we're gonna go Latino actors.
Yeah,
Pedro, Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac, maybe.
I can
I
actually
could see
see
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac. I don't know about Pedro.
No.
Yeah. Hear about Pedro? Fantastic Four.
Hey,
I-
what
I'm
I
not
what I
It's confirmed.
listen.
Oh shit!
It's not. Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, the question I was going to ask at the end of this podcast was the rumors, stated by Deadline magazine, Pedro Pascal, Fantastic Four. Before we get to that, let's do 2 more actors, and then we'll get
Diego
into that.
Luna. Diego Luna.
Nah, I don't like it. He's too small.
Too skinny. You don't
Too
think the
skinny.
second
He would
waist
literally
could
get
fight off the
broken.
brute?
He would literally get destroyed by the brute. Like one uppercut from the brute, he's done for, dude. Come on. And
He's
I
definitely
thought
mo-
Fassbender should have been done for after that uppercut.
Yeah.
It's true. That's very true.
You got another one,
That's
Brandon?
true. Oh man, I'm trying to.
I like
I'm not,
your suggestions, Brandon.
I'm not gonna say Robert Downey Jr. because he's typecast. He's
Oh.
Yeah, no.
yeah, it's no.
I also think a little too old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too. What, he's in his 60s? He might be 60 if anything. I think so.
Maybe
I don't
He would never do this role because I don't think it's in his wheelhouse. But
I don't think so either.
Fincher though, he's worked with Fincher before.
No, I'm the person I'm about to suggest.
Oh, sorry. go ahead.
Okay.
Sticking on the hype this summer with Oppenheimer because you mentioned RDJ,
Oh,
Cillian
Cillian.
Murphy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it. I just
I
don't
can
think he would
see
do
it.
it.
I mean, he'd have to get into Peaky Blinder shape.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, I like that.
Yeah, that's true. He would just, it's kind of almost opposite where he's not too swole, but he might need to work on himself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Perfect.
want to throw out a few more.
All right. Go for it.
Jacob Elordi,
Ooh, I like it. I like
some
it.
younger guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it because he gives me so one thing I'm excited about this Priscilla movie is I feel like he's giving me the vibe of like frat guy who just doesn't really care, right? Like about his body. And I feel like
Right.
it works for this
Yeah.
movie, right? Like in
Yeah.
a weird roundabout way. I'm gonna go yes.
And he's got the height for it too, you know. So yeah.
Tom Holland.
Oh, stop.
Why do you even ask, man? And that on that note, all right, guys. Final scores for The Killer. Jay, what do you got first?
I went 8.4 out of 10. I thought there
Okay.
were times where I wasn't overly thrilled with what was happening. I wasn't like, you know, I do think the first 25 minutes could easily turn anyone off. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. There was a point where I was like, okay, are we ever gonna get to anything? You know, he's just talking.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, overall, it's a movie I would watch again. It's a movie I'm already suggesting to people.
Yeah.
Like I said, Tilda Swinton was absolutely phenomenal in the short 15 minutes she has. I love Fassbender. I love the fight scene. I thought the ending was good. I don't know that it was like great. I don't know that I'm like, oh my god, this is classic Fincher ending.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm gonna go 8.4.
Okay, Steve.
I give it a 9.4. I really love this movie.
Yeah.
I'm personally I like slower kind of procedural type of movies where I can just where not much is happening, but it gives me time to really kind of analyze what the
Right.
director's going for. I think there's a lot behind this movie in terms of the unreliable narrator, seeing everything through his eyes, kind of the commercialism in this movie. We see a lot of like McDonald's, Amazon. I think it's a very much
WeWork. What was up with the
WeWork. I think
Yeah.
I think that's very intentional from Fincher. I think it's very much a commentary as much as it's a story about a killer. It's very much a commentary on, I think, society, you know, just the access to the ease access that anyone can have to potentially commit murders, and right with the Amazon aspect of it. But no, I think the fact that it was so finely crafted by Fincher, it's a slower procedural. It's got literally, in my opinion, the best fight scene I've seen in the last 10 years in a movie. And a great performance all around. I to me, it's the best movie that's come out this year that I've seen. You know, I've said I got a lot to see. I got Killers, Flower Moon still to see. We still got plenty to see. Napoleon's gonna be coming out, but I'll give it a 9.4. I'll stand on that.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I'd say I went 8 out of 10. But I would say I think these are all good scores by chance. I mean, I think we all pretty much, it was probably the first movie that all three of us were like, whoa, that was good, you know, from all of our perspectives that we really enjoyed. Perfect. All right. Hopefully we see more good stuff out of Netflix, and as well as David Fincher may continue to make work. Zodiac is one of those movies that I saw a long time ago, and it's a little bit of a Roman Empire. You know, I just still keep thinking about it. You know, at random times. Perfect. So as we did mention just very briefly, and we're going to end it on this, we did see just some breaking news on the potential casting of Pedro Pascal as Richard Reed's Mr. Fantastic, the Fantastic Four.
Reed
Guys,
Richards,
just
boy.
immediate thoughts. Well, what is it?
So overall, I think there's like, you know, Pedro is just on a heater right now, right? Obviously, the Mandalorian, The Last of Us, and he's just in every single form of media. He's hosting SNL, and he's being cast into. He's in Gladiator 2.
Really?
Like, you know, I think I saw a list today of other projects he's actually filming now that the strike is over. So I mean, he's just one of those guys right now that they're pulling for everything. I don't know if it works for me. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm a little excited about it because I love Pedro's work, and I know he does such a great job. I saw the other rumored people supposed to be in this. I kind of like their castings a little more. Pedro, I'm gonna give it a chance because this movie's been anticipated, and this cast in particular might be the most anticipated cast in like the history of the MCU. How many years have we been hearing who's going to be the Fantastic Four? Who's going to be the Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
Like, this is it. You have to nail this cast. And in my opinion, Marvel really has to nail it because we did it, or, you know, the pod of last episode about, you know, the fatigue and is Marvel down? Like, you know, how do they revamp themselves? They have to nail this. So maybe going after the hot actor right now is the move. We'll see. There's rumors that they're going to, you know, also add a multiverse version of another Reed Richards who's like a more failed version, and he's evil. I think that's a trope from the comics. I'm not 100% sure on that. So we could see a double casting here, which I would love the idea of Reed Richards being different in every universe. We already saw John Krasinski in Doctor Strange, so I love the idea of all the Reed Richards being sort of different here, and kind of like with Kang, maybe they do it a way to recast Jonathan Majors. The multiverse has taught us through Spider-Man that every multiversal version can actually be different. So I really like the idea of that.
Hey, I'm kind of sad we're not going to see Ian Ruffo unless we're going to see him again as Mr. Fantastic. Steve, what about
I did like him in those bad Fantastic Four movies.
Hey, it was a good campy movie.
They're nostalgic.
Hey, it's campy. But Steve, what are your thoughts on Pedro Pascal?
Campy is one way to put it. Look, I love Pedro. I've been watching Pedro for a long time. Game of Thrones, Narcos.
Game of Thrones.
It's actually quite crazy to see his rise. Because he, like I said, he was side character on Game of Thrones, side character on Narcos, eventually graduated to main character. Played the main villain in Wonder Woman. But now, the fact that he's getting the keys to the Fantastic Four IP, playing the main guy. Let's be honest, he's the main guy of. When people think Fantastic Four, I think you think Reed Richards, right? He's the most important, impactful character from the Fantastic Four. And I think this movie will do a bill regardless of who's casted. Like, I think Fantastic Four will have that anticipation and will have people coming to the theaters. It's really and you could say that's why they casted Pedro, because it's like, look, we know people are hungry for Fantastic Four. We know people will go to the movie theater to see a Fantastic Four movie compared to the Marvels, compared to Ant-Man. They will see this movie. Why try to go too outside the box? Let's get a hot actor. Let's get one that's been doing a lot of projects. I understand that point, and Jay, you obviously make a great point regarding that. Is he my favorite casting of Reed Richards amongst the other people that were mentioned? Honestly, no. I would not say so. Right. I really like the idea of Krasinski being Reed Richards. I'm not sure why they literally said no. Like, they literally almost forgot about John Krasinski as Reed Richards, which is really baffling to me. I think he has a lot of qualities to be a great Reed Richards. And I remember the other casting rumors when Krasinski was attached. I mean, we had Jason Segel potentially as the Thing. I was loving that. I thought it was a great idea.
That's so his wheelhouse, yeah.
They had Emily Blunt as well, but we're not doing that anymore. And the other rumors, I believe he had Matt Smith. I would have loved to see Matt Smith as well as Reed Richards.
Potentially, yeah.
Well, Pedro did good in the role. Obviously, he's a great actor. And I think this is his wheelhouse in terms of doing the sci-fi comic book. He's got the goods for it. I just feel like I would have rather seen them stick with Krasinski, to be quite honest.
I agree. Yeah, it just seems like they're.
I think. Well, I was just gonna say real quick. I do think this role is gonna have a sort of grandfather role, right? Like you're seeing Vanessa Kirby being rumored for Sue Storm, which I love. I think she'd be a great Sue Storm.
I absolutely love her too. I
don't think anyone will ever top Jessica Alba, right? But that was every kid our age's crush, back then. So, I think she would do really good in that role. But you see, they're going sort of younger with the rest of the cast, so maybe Pedro does work as the sort of grandfather to everyone, right? Like the father figure that they're all going to need, the leader that they're going to need, because Reed Richards is the guy who has to lead the Fantastic Four against Doctor Doom, and you're seeing Galactus being rumored now. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it works.
Maybe it does work. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Pedro Pascal is already going to be a sort of, not elderly, obviously he's not that old, but maybe already 40s, almost maybe early 50s. Reed Richards, are we going to see him already just in mind, kind of like we did with Tom Holland, where he's already been the character, the superhero for a couple of years? Right. I know the rumors is that the Fantastic Four, possibly in this timeline, they've probably been stuck in part of the quantum realm for decades. And maybe Hank Pym knows him. I don't know. There's the different things, but I'm very interested to see where they go.
Boy, they missed a lot. Good thing all the movies are on Disney Plus, though.
That's how they catch up. They give money to Mickey Mouse. So, all right, guys. Any last thoughts before we head out for this episode?
Hey, real quick. I'm gonna throw one more
Yep.
actor out there. We'll end on this note.
For Michael
Sebastian
Fassbender
Stan.
or for
For Michael Fassbender, the killer.
Go, let's hear it.
Sebastian Stan.
I like it. Yes, I like
yes,
that.
and,
Actually,
yes and no. Yes and no. It's interesting.
I like it a lot. I just
have
thought
you
of it
ever
as we were
seen
talking more.
that one movie Fresh? What is it
No.
called?
I have not know.
Oh my god, literally plays a cannibal in that movie. It's so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
so he's already psychotic enough to do it.
Check that out, everybody. Fresh. If you want to see
Okay.
Yeah.
him playing a sociopath role.
I love it.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good. All right, well, thanks for joining us for episode number 10, guys. I mean, what a little bit of a milestone, right? So here's to 10 more if I had some champagne on me, but
We'll pop some. We'll pop some.
we'll go. All right, guys. You all have a great night, all right?